Right now, 284 million people worldwide are living with an anxiety disorder, and hundreds of millions more experience anxiety symptoms daily without ever receiving a diagnosis. But what most people do not understand is that anxiety is not weakness. It is your brain's ancient survival system, running at the wrong time, in the wrong context, for the wrong reasons. Today, we go inside the anxious brain and body in full 3D anatomy to show you exactly what anxiety does at the neural, hormonal, and cellular level. By the end, you will understand why your heart races, why your stomach churns, why you cannot think clearly, and what science says you can do about it. To understand anxiety, we need to understand the brain structures that generate it. Deep inside the temporal lobe sits the amygdala, a pair of almond-shaped structures that serve as your brain's threat detection system. The amygdala receives sensory information from the outside world, and its job is simple: decide, is this a threat? When the amygdala detects a potential threat, it fires an alarm signal before your conscious mind even has time to process what is happening. This alarm reaches the prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking part of your brain, which in healthy anxiety can calm the amygdala down. But in anxiety disorders, this regulatory circuit breaks down. The amygdala becomes hyperactive, and the prefrontal cortex loses its ability to quiet it. The hippocampus, your memory center, sits directly beside the amygdala and plays a crucial role in anxiety by storing emotional memories. When you experience something frightening, the amygdala tags that memory with emotional intensity, making it more easily retrieved and more powerfully felt. In chronic anxiety, the hippocampus actually shrinks. Studies show up to 8% volume reduction in people with prolonged anxiety and PTSD. The moment the amygdala fires its alarm, two simultaneous stress response systems activate throughout your entire body. The first, the sympathetic nervous system, fires within milliseconds, activating every organ simultaneously. The adrenal medulla, the inner part of your adrenal glands, receives the signal and immediately floods the bloodstream with adrenaline. Adrenaline reaches your heart within seconds, causing it to beat faster and harder, pushing more blood to the muscles. Your blood vessels in the skin and gut constrict, diverting blood away from digestion and towards the muscles that might need to fight or run. Your lungs increase breathing rate, pulling in more oxygen to fuel the anticipated physical response. Your liver dumps stored glucose into the bloodstream, providing instant energy for muscles. Your pupils dilate to take in more visual information about the threat. Your muscles tense, ready to act. Your pain sensitivity decreases. Endorphins prepare you to fight through injury if necessary. Now the second system activates, the HPA axis, releasing cortisol for sustained stress response. Cortisol is the sustained stress hormone, and while useful in genuine emergencies, chronic cortisol elevation from persistent anxiety causes real physical damage throughout the body. Here is perhaps the most important thing science has discovered about anxiety. It physically changes the structure of your brain. The amygdala actually grows larger with chronic anxiety, developing more neurons and stronger connections, making the threat detection system increasingly sensitive. Simultaneously, the prefrontal cortex, your brain's rational regulator, loses dendritic branches and becomes less effective at calming the amygdala. This creates a vicious cycle, a larger reactive amygdala and a smaller regulating prefrontal cortex, making anxiety progressively worse over time without treatment. The anterior cingulate cortex, a region bridging emotional and cognitive processing, shows altered activity in anxiety, impairing attention and decision-making. The locus coeruleus, a tiny nucleus in the brainstem, becomes chronically overactive in anxiety, constantly flooding the brain with norepinephrine. Norepinephrine dysregulation produces hypervigilance, the exhausting state of constant alertness where every stimulus feels like a potential threat. The default mode network, the brain system active when you are not focused on tasks, becomes dysregulated in anxiety, producing the characteristic loop of worry and rumination. Anxiety does not stay in the brain. Its effects extend throughout every system of the body. The gut-brain axis, the bidirectional communication highway between your digestive system and your brain, is profoundly disrupted by anxiety. Your gut contains 500 million neurons, more than your spinal cord, and 95% of your body's serotonin is produced there. Anxiety disrupts gut motility, causing spasms, bloating, and the characteristic nausea and stomach churning that anxiety sufferers know well. Chronic anxiety significantly increases the risk of cardiovascular disease through multiple mechanisms operating simultaneously. Chronically elevated cortisol suppresses the immune system, making anxiety sufferers more vulnerable to infections, slower to heal wounds, and less responsive to vaccines. Anxiety is one of the strongest predictors of chronic pain because it lowers the pain threshold through central sensitization of the nervous system. Anxiety disrupts sleep architecture, increasing the proportion of light sleep and reducing the restorative deep sleep and REM sleep that the brain requires to regulate emotion. Here is the most important scientific fact about anxiety. The brain changes that drive it are reversible. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself throughout life, means that with the right interventions, the anxious brain can return to a healthy state. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is the most evidence-based treatment for anxiety, and brain imaging shows it literally changes neural architecture. Exercise is one of the most powerful anti-anxiety interventions known because it directly promotes neuroplasticity through BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Just 20 minutes of moderate aerobic exercise reduces amygdala reactivity for up to 24 hours, a direct anti-anxiety effect measurable in brain scans. Mindfulness meditation physically thickens the prefrontal cortex, restoring the regulatory control over the amygdala that anxiety erodes. Medications, SSRIs and SNRIs, work by increasing serotonin availability in the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, directly supporting the brain's own regulatory systems. The vagus nerve, running from brain to gut, is now understood as a direct pathway for calming anxiety through practices like deep breathing and cold exposure. Deep diaphragmatic breathing directly activates the parasympathetic nervous system, slowing the heart, relaxing the gut, and lowering amygdala activity within minutes. Anxiety is not a character flaw. It is a brain that learned to be afraid, and a brain that learned can always learn again. Your brain is not fixed. It is plastic. And every breath, every step, every moment of intentional calm is rewiring it right now.